Ghost Beast!
Ghost Beast.
Horror Podcast. I'm Todd.
I'm Becca.
And together we're going to watch every single horror movie. Which is why today we watched Red Rooms from 2023, aka Les Chambres Rouges. You think that's accurate?
Probably not.
Nope. It's directed by Pascal Plante, who looked like he directed a bunch of other interesting movies before this, but this is his first horror movie from what I could tell. And this is one that has been recommended to us many, many times, yes. And we have kind of avoided watching it for a long time. I think we got really caught up on like the content warning for this because it is a movie that has been described as being like pretty heavy, having some pretty crazy subject matter. I think like we got really hung up on this because I mean it's essentially about a serial killer who murders young women on video and shares those videos on the dark web. I realize you know like absolutely nothing about the dark web.
Yeah, I don't know anything except for what movies show me, I guess.
I'm gonna have you explain to me what the dark web is.
Okay.
I think. But yeah, and it centers on this woman who is like obsessed with this serial killer.
Well, hold on. I would take that out.
Well,
because I feel like that's part of the mystery.
No, I think that's part of the like plot summary.
Okay.
I mean, what that obsession means is complicated. And that's something that we will work our way through. But yeah, I think what we got caught up on is that, yeah, apparently what is on these videos was supposed to be very heavy. And there's like implied essay involved. So it's just one of those movies that I knew I'd heard was really good. But every time I brought it up, you were like, I'm not in the headspace.
Yeah. Well, this. I've had quite a few people recommend it to me at this point.
Yeah.
I think one of the first people to recommend it was my friend who's always recommending great horror movies.
Yep.
So I will say, like, I started to feel bad because I was like, okay, so many people have recommended this movie.
That's always tough.
And it's like, I take a lot of those recommendations very seriously. Like, I appreciate it when somebody recommends something to me. But the content that I read, the content warning for this, it was just hard. There's just some days where it's like, I don't want to take the chance being re-triggered. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've like circled around this on previous episodes, but we should just say like, yeah, we are very sensitive when it comes to any kind of essay related content to the point where like if a horror movie is featuring it, well, I know you're definitely in the space of like, we could probably skip that.
Yeah.
And I feel that way too. I just feel like maybe we just don't need to do this. And I think like what's interesting is before meeting you, I think I wasn't as sensitive to that, but I think it was like early in our relationship. I'm not trying to get emotional. So I don't want to like, let me know if this is like too much to talk about. But early in the relationship, there were definitely a few times when we were like blindsided by some of this stuff. The big one that stood out to me was the Mist TV series. I don't know if you even remember this.
I don't.
I still carry so much fucking anger over this. I'm glad you forgot about it. I had heard it wasn't very good when it came out, but I felt like, hey, this will be just a fun little thing that we can watch together. This was like very early in our relationship. And the first episode, there's a huge plot point involving essay between these students. And it like kept coming up over and over and over in that episode. And then it became clear by the end of the episode that like this is going to be a major plot thread through this entire series. And I remember you were getting like slowly more and more upset as we watched the episode, and I was getting more and more angry because it was just like, why the fuck are we doing this? We're trying to just have fun watching a monster show. And so by the end of it, I was just like, fuck this shit. Like, we're never coming back to this. And so I've been like very sensitive about vetting stuff before we watch it.
Which I really appreciate.
Of course. It makes it difficult though when there's movies like this, because it's like, yes, I hear it's very good. Reading stuff is so hard because I read so much stuff about like, oh, you never see anything and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but it is a part of the story. And it's like, I don't know how heavy that's going to be. And I'll hear like other people like on other podcasts talk about it. That's usually the thing that makes me start to feel like, okay, maybe this is safe, but it's like it's a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Because we also like another great example is that movie Revenge. Which like that's a huge part of the story, but it's a woman director. It's the director of The Substance. And I heard it was like handled really well and it's a great movie. So we took our chances on that. And you really like that, right?
Yeah, no, I did. And I think some things that really stick out to me when it comes to movies like this is I do like seek out like a woman's opinion.
Yeah.
And
of course.
I mean, unfortunately, you know, essay among women at least is like extremely high. And I think as I get older, I started to realize like, oh, it really is like everyone. It's almost like everyone. And it's sad. But what sucks when it comes to movies like this is I really want to see a good movie. Like I want to watch movies, but
it's a minefield.
Yeah. I think the worst part is when it's not handled in a way where we're saying anything about it. Like it's just there for, I assume, shock factor or obsession or something weird. And that's where it just feels like, why am I putting myself through to watch this movie if you don't have anything productive to say about the content?
Yeah. I mean, we just ran into that recently because we were going to go see Shelby Oaks for our anniversary.
Yeah.
And then like last minute, right before I bought the tickets, I checked online and it was like, what the fuck? This is a huge part of the story. I had no idea. So we just canceled that whole plan. It can be tough.
Yeah.
It really is like a minefield.
It sucks because first of all, you know how excited I was to see Shelby Oaks.
I know. I heard it's not very good anyway, so who gives a fuck?
I think what caught me was the marketing. I was so impressed by the marketing. I'm like, okay, I really like this.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to see it. Like, I'm not interested in seeing any of that. Like, I think that's one of the things about horror is so great because it's supposed to be these horrible things that, you know, most likely will never ever happen. Like they're just these like crazy stories. And I think like what goes in with this movie is when you get to the true crime aspect of things, it makes it hard.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll go more into this in the content warning, but I will say like when we finally worked up the courage to be like, all right, let's give it a shot. I'm assuming you agree with me in that like it really isn't that bad as far as like
it's graphic, like not in a visual way, but in other ways. And there were definitely some parts that got me like, but I could still follow along with the story. Like sometimes stuff like that happens. It takes me out of it. I still felt extremely uncomfortable and disgusted, but it was being handled
without like rubbing your nose into it.
Yeah. I don't know. The storytelling felt way more graceful than some other things, you know, that I see.
Yeah. This is a very dark, very distressing movie, but it's not being gratuitous with it. And it's kind of like expressing these ideas in a way that's more subtle, that doesn't need to like shove your face in it. We'll go more in depth with the content warning, but I did see that it was inspired by like the groupies that serial killers get. I think that's like a really interesting concept that we'll go into more. But watching it, I was totally like, I don't know how much of my own bullshit I'm bringing here, but it seems to be commentary on like the true crime craze.
No, I think that's fair. I also read that the serial killer was inspired by Luca Magnotta, which is the Don't Fuck with Cats documentary, which I believe is like, I think that's like the last true crime documentary I might have ever watched. I think I slowly really started to get pulled out of true crime as an interest. That's a big subject we'll go into with spoilers, but I'll just say like, I think another thing we're aligned on is that we are not big fans of true crime. No, I used to be, but not anymore.
Yeah. You kind of also pulled me away from that stuff because I wouldn't say that I was ever like a big true crime head or anything, but talking to you definitely changed my perspective on that stuff a bit. And at least my read, I think I have a pretty decent read on this movie. I don't know how accurate it is as far as like the director's intent, I think it's an interesting kind of deconstruction of all that, and I think it has a lot of interesting things to say about it. And yeah, overall, this is just like as dark and as like depressing as it can be. I think this is a fucking fantastic film.
Oh yeah, this creeped me out and made me feel so fucking uncomfortable and confused in a good way. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, as a film, it's great. It tells a great story.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, if you are like us and maybe getting stuck on the content, I mean, why don't we just get right into the content warning? Yeah, we were so stuck on like the content for so long, we kind of missed that, like, no, the distressing part of the movie is really the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the videos of these murders, you see almost nothing of it. Like, you hear stuff.
Yeah, I think they show like a very small clip, blurry clip in the beginning, and then you're just listening and seeing people's reactions.
You kind of see the clip getting played a couple times maybe, but it's never like full screen. You're never really seeing anything. And I mean, the sounds on their own are like enough.
Terrifying. Yeah. Yeah.
But like, it's just funny because it's such a dark concept, and they get away with like really selling that emotion and that atmosphere while showing like almost nothing. Because there really is like basically no actual gore or anything in this movie. So I think like the warning is that, yeah, it deals with this like very heavy subject matter, and it's a heavy movie, but it's more like emotionally heavy. You're not really seeing anything that's super upsetting.
I feel like it's dropping you into a perspective of something like this in a way that I've never really seen before.
Yeah, completely.
So there are obviously movies with court cases where you're seeing the perspective of maybe a victim or who's ever being accused, but
all of that's like in the background.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see that perspective.
Yeah, the focus is totally on this woman who's following the case, who's like completely detached from it, and just exploring like more than anything her character, who seems to be like a listen, I'm not the person to be like psychologically evaluating anyone, but she seems to be kind of like a sociopath.
Yeah, I think
or something.
I think that's kind of fair.
I don't really know the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, but there's definitely something often like very detached about her, and it works so well for the movie because it means you can't really follow her motivations throughout the movie, and that leads to a lot of the like kind of twists and turns, I think.
Yeah, it becomes like very present how obsessed this person is, like how much of a focus of their life it is.
But that winds up being like one of the most fascinating things, is just trying to figure out like what is going on, what are her motivations, and I think it pays off really well. But yeah, it's a great movie. Can completely recommend it. I will pass on the recommendation after we have absorbed so many recommendations from so many other people. I can now pass that on to others. And yes, you should check this movie out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth watching.
If you're in the mood for like a heavy psychological thriller type of horror movie, yeah.
Yeah, this movie kind of keeps you thinking the whole film, which I love.
Very good.
Yeah.
Did you have anything else before we get to spoilers?
A little whistle. No, I don't have anything.
Now let's get to spoilers. What is the dark web?
We're doing this right now.
Yes.
I don't know. It just it feels like a test. I don't know. I in my mind I assume it's like just some other part of the internet that if you want to find it, you can find it, but it's like, I don't know, there's fucked up things over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fucking expert. I don't really remember all the ins and outs, and I didn't research it for this, but like from what I can remember about it, it's basically like it is a whole other internet. It's like you can't access it from the normal internet. It's not like you can click around and like, oh fuck, I'm on the dark web.
You know what? When I was younger, I definitely thought it was like
Yeah,
something you
click the
could just
wrong link
stumble into.
Oh, no, I'm in the dark web.
I definitely thought about that when I was a kid.
No, you need a special web browser to access it, and it's basically like completely sectioned off from the main internet. And I think you have to go through all these weird proxies and stuff because it is all about hiding your presence on there. And that's funny because it's one of the things they do kind of give you a little info dump during the trial, and they mention how normally the speeds on the dark web are like very slow because the traffic has to go through all this weird shit, and it's not hosted on like the Amazon servers or anything. But I guess we've progressed to the point where now we can like have live streaming on the dark web, which is fantastic.
That sounds great.
Yeah. But that's kind of like, that's the backbone of this story, is like there are kind of urban legends about, snuff films and stuff like that being shared on the dark web. There's other movies, I mean, like Hostel, this is a big part of that. That's like the whole concept here, is that this guy who's on trial was somehow caught doing this, and I guess he had kidnapped like 3 young women. 2 of those women, like the videos were out there, but one of them hadn't been released yet or something. And that's the explanation behind this trial. And the main character is someone who seems to be like very technologically savvy, who is working as a model, I guess. And she seems to have this kind of obsession with this court case. And you don't really know exactly what is going on with this obsession, right?
Right.
So right away, I think what was so interesting is, we touched on this in the beginning, that this character, Kellyanne, I think it really works that she is, let's just call her a sociopath for lack of a better diagnosis. She seems like very disconnected from her emotions, and that makes it really hard to read her motivations. And I think that is like very central to the storytelling here. But I do think it's interesting that like early on, she meets this other girl, Clementine, who is another like rabid fan of this killer, but the way they approach it feels like very different. Yeah,
Clementine felt more like a boy band obsession, kind of.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's the thing, is like, you always wonder with these like serial killer groupies, we all know this is like a thing, and it always seems fucking crazy and doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I don't even understand, like in this case, listen, let's be real. The serial killer in this movie looks like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, he does.
He looks like a fucking creep.
But I also think there's a part of that just doesn't matter, too.
I guess I don't understand.
I don't understand it either. Even when I was into true crime, there was no point where I was like, oh, I need a Ted Bundy poster on my wall. Or like, I still saw them as monsters. So I personally don't really understand that either.
I wonder if it's like chasing that fame, because she does seem like, it's like every chance she gets, she's trying to jump in front of a camera.
Well, yeah, she's trying to be like a Manson girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to like put herself in front of the bullets and like shield him from this stuff. It was just interesting to me the way that like she had an answer for everything to try and explain his innocence, but Kellyanne seems to be approaching it differently, because she is kind of like, well, like she's kind of backing up the evidence. It seems like she thinks he's guilty.
Oh yeah, I got that too. It's like she somehow already knew all the facts that this guy was guilty.
Yeah.
So
which makes it unclear, like, so what is she doing here?
Right.
Why is she so obsessed with this guy? That relationship between the two of them, I think, is like very interesting early on.
Well, you could tell, even though that she was like deeply annoyed by her, she always like felt like she had a soft spot for her as well.
Yeah, she's very kind to her.
Yeah. So she related to her in some way.
Yeah, that was the thing. There was something there. But like, if we get into the true crime part of this, because I think that's where this is leading. I know early on when we started dating, you mentioned something to me about how you couldn't stand to look at videos of like people being actually hurt, like whether it was like a car accident or some horrible tragedy or something, because it's like these are real people
Yeah.
who have real families. And I think that like really hit home for me, that like we have so much media glorifying serial killers where it's like we forget the victims in these stories are real people who had families. And you can only imagine, like, imagine if someone you know, someone that you were close to, was killed by one of these killers, and you're seeing like all these recreations on TV and in movies and everything.
You're just re-traumatizing them.
Yeah, depicting like the worst thing that could have possibly happened to you. And people are just watching it and laughing along and loving it. You know, it's very weird. And I think there's this weird distance. I'm not trying to be like super judgy. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I was young, like any edgy teenager, I was going to like rotten.com and shit and seeing all this horrific stuff. It feels almost like it feels
a what?
It feels almost like a coming of age thing, I think, for probably mostly young men. I'm sure there's plenty of young women who can relate to.
Oh, yeah. I know I had women, like, well, friends in high school that were girls that would also watch that stuff too. So
maybe it's part of getting older and having just a different perspective on these things. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems really weird to me now. And seeing things like, you know, that TV series Monster, which has been getting like so much fucking flack. I did see recently that Osgood Perkins was railing on it because it depicted Anthony Perkins in the show. I don't even know the context, but he was basically like, I would not touch that show with a 10-foot pole. And it's
which I love. Makes me love Oz Perkins even more.
But it's exactly what we're talking about this. Like if you know people involved, and I don't even know how Anthony Perkins is involved in any of this.
They're literally just taking a character that he played and like making him the face of it, which what are you doing? I don't know if that's the context because I'm not going to watch the show. So I don't know.
But that's the thing. It's like, it's real people. Like we shouldn't be glorifying this and making money off of this and all this. I don't know. It's just, it is so fucking weird to me.
I think that there is this, and this is probably what really initially attracted me to true crime in the first place, if we're going there, is just, there is this sense of like finding justice and like the victims being like healed in a way, which is like through court proceedings and stuff where they win, and hearing things like that. You know, I can see that, but it's just hard when I think we're focusing too much on the serial killer and maybe not enough on the victims.
Yeah, there's like
the story still deserves to be told if that's what the victims want.
There is a certain perspective like that, and I've heard from women who feel some kind of sense of like safety of being able to watch this from like, you know, the comfort of their home. It just, I think it's the glorification of it that starts to cross the line. And I think this movie has a lot of interesting things to say about all of that. And like one of the most telling things for me was when so that girl Clementine, you know, she is like really glorifying this killer, and there's a certain point where Kellyanne is like, well, have you seen the videos? Like, I have the videos. And she...
Well, at first, she tells her that you don't want to see the videos.
But when she, like, finally shows her these videos, it's like Clementine... It's like it breaks the spell.
Oh, yeah. She's, like, instantly out. She's like, whoa, what the... Yeah.
I think that's part of it, too, though. Like, the thing I took from that is, it's very easy to watch these shows and movies that are treating it as just, like, this fun story. But it's like, when you are seeing the actual horrific things, like the actual pain and suffering, it's hard to separate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's like where you get that dose of reality, where it's like, this isn't all fun and games anymore. Yeah. And I think that's the point when she basically leaves the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also interesting that she then shows up on like a talk show to like share her story, which I think like that is like the great way to conclude her character arc, because that seems to be the main focus of her character. But what this all leads up to, I think, like when we get into like my favorite scene, it's like I said, this whole time you're wondering what the main character, like how is she invested in this? What is her end goal here? I think I'd heard it described as like she fantasizes about being in these videos. I don't know where I read that.
That would make sense.
I don't know.
could see that making sense.
I'm interested in then hearing your interpretation of the ending, because I think I had a very different idea there. But like, yeah, there is a point where it feels like everything is starting to kind of unravel. Do you think, did that girl Clementine like rat her out? Is that what happened? Because remember, she loses her modeling gig kind of out of nowhere because there's some weird allegations. And I think I took it as like after Clementine saw the videos, she kind of lashed out and like called the modeling agency. Because how else would they find out about that?
I thought that she did something on TV or something. She was getting, it was like going viral. Maybe not viral, but like people were talking about.
Well, because she was showing up at the trial?
I think, yeah, because she was there at all. So I think the company was like, this isn't a good look for us.
Okay. Yeah, because when that happened, I was kind of like, wait, what happened? Like I was waiting for them to explain. And I think either way it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting like when it fully starts to unravel and it feels like the police are kind of onto her and she's like stalking this woman's house. Like there's the one woman in the trial whose daughter is still missing. And it all leads up to that, the bidding war for that unreleased video. Like that scene was very intense.
Yeah, it was.
Because it feels like that at that point, it feels like she is kind of willing to throw her entire life away just to get her hands on this video.
Yeah.
And that's where it's really like really coming to a head as far as like, what is she getting from this?
Yeah.
But what, well, first of all, what was your favorite scene?
Well, my favorite scene was when she showed up to the courthouse dressed like one of the victims because it was so fucked up.
We'll get to that. That's, I think what we are like heading towards here is we might have different interpretations of the end of the movie, which is very interesting. Because I will say, like, when I first saw this, I felt like the end took like a really sharp right turn. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really, I didn't really understand where it was going. Because up to the end, it really does seem to be that like Kellyanne is this very troubled character. Mm-hmm. And the mood in this movie, it can be like very dark and oppressive. And by the end, I was just feeling like fucking sad. Like you're watching her entire life unravel because of this obsession. And I wasn't sure where it was going. And the way I thought about it afterwards, my interpretation was that this entire time, it's like, yeah, she developed this weird, unhealthy obsession and this kind of like, she became like very hyper focused on this case for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But it seems like her goal the entire time was to bring this guy down.
Yeah, I felt that way too at the end. I've been thinking about it a lot more just to see like, because I when we first watched it, I also felt that way too. It seemed like, okay, is she going to these extreme lengths to prove he's guilty?
Yeah.
But I guess it's hard to say that maybe there's a possibility too where she's just like sick and that was just a side effect. I think what makes me hard...
Oh, hello.
That. What makes it hard to decipher for the ending, I feel like, is her like going into her room and taking photos like she was the little girl. She went in there and took selfies as if she was her in her like actual room. And like that's so unsettling. And I'm trying to think what that would prove.
That's funny because I actually forgot that part. Now I'm trying to think like, yeah, what was that about? Because like it feels like everything is fucking crumbling.
Yes.
And when she dresses up as this girl and goes into the courtroom, it was just like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is nuts. And it was like, are you just going in there like, notice me, senpai? Like, is she just really throwing it all out there just to get him to look at her?
Yeah.
But what happens is that after that, like he like waves at her in this really fucking weird way. But then right after that is the headline that like he just admitted to being guilty. So it's like maybe that was like, she knew what she was doing. She was triggering him to just finally admit that he did this, you know, by getting this like rise out of him. And then, it's going and like breaking into this woman's house, which before that seemed like very sinister. It was like, what is she doing when she's like trying to hack the lock on the door? It's like, what is the end goal here?
Well, it seemed like she had been planning that for a long time.
Yes.
She was looking into security systems and stuff.
But it's the reveal at the end that she sneaks in, and it's totally like, what the fuck are you doing right now? But she just leaves the USB stick on the mom's nightstand, and that winds up being like the evidence that sends it over the top. So that made it feel like all of this was building up to that moment. The reason that she was willing to throw everything away to get her hands on this video was just so she could hand it over, basically, and give this mother closure and end the case. So it did make it feel like that was the goal all along. And that's why...
Yeah, that's how I felt too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why when she was with Clementine, the way that she's kind of like, well, I'm pretty sure it's him. You know, it's just kind of being like, yeah, I think he is guilty. Like, and the way she shows her the videos to kind of snap her out of it, maybe she's not so much obsessing over him in the way we were thinking.
Yeah, no, she broke her of... she lost him a follower.
Yeah. One at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was like, I guess if that reads correct, and it sounds like you agree with me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I was just so intrigued by the ambiguity of the movie that I was like, okay, but when the movie was immediately over, that is also how I felt. Which I think gave me a little bit of like this like small positive ending to everything too.
Oh yeah. It's kind of cathartic.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, which I was not expecting. I think that's why when in the moment, it caught me off guard, because it felt like we were just sinking deeper and deeper into this like depressing hole. And then all of that happens very quickly. It felt like it was like the last 5 minutes of the movie. It just hits you with all that. So it left me kind of spinning, but like it's a fascinating way to tell this story. And I think it only works because the character is so detached emotionally. So it makes them like impossible to read for the entire movie. So it's impossible to really understand their motivations until the end, when you kind of piece it all together. It's fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen a story told quite like this.
No. I thought it was really well written. The composition throughout the film was also extremely striking. Art design was all great as well. I think there was they did a lot with very simple design choices, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good recommendation. I think we got this recommendation like 2 years ago. Finally, here we are. Oh my God,
really?
It was around the beginning of the podcast, and we are 2 years old now. So yes, we got there. Okay. But it was great. I'm glad we finally watched it. Glad you finally, because I've been trying to talk you into watching it for
a long time.
A very long time.
Yeah. It's hard.
I know. We went over that.
I just got to get in the right headspace, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can go to ghostbeast.com for all our links. You can also search for Ghost Beast Pod. You can follow Lux Fatale to check out Becca's horror artwork. You can also go to our shop where we're selling stickers and t-shirts, which are definitely online now. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you can follow Ghost Beast on Letterboxd, where we rank everything we cover. Think I got a spot. I put it above 28 Years Later and below Weapons.
Yeah.
Puts it at number 17 on our list. You can contact us at podcast at ghostbeast.com.
You're having trouble.
Give us a recommendation for your favorite underappreciated movies, and we will definitely watch them within 2 years. Bye.